Hey everybody, welcome to part 6 of building the Enterprise D from Eaglemoss and Hero Collector. So in this video we are going to be covering stages 19, and there is 20, 21, and 22. So it looks like we're going to be doing some more panels here. And I'm really glad to get this one right here, number 20, because that is the one that I was missing when I got all the deliveries for my parts. So thanks to the good people at Eaglemoss and their excellent customer service, they sent me a replacement for this, so I'm very glad to get that, so now I can get back to building this beast. Here's the magazine for these parts, and we'll just take a quick look through these. So here are the parts that we see them showing, so that you know what you're supposed to get. This is stage 19. It looks like stage 19 is going to be a bit complicated. It's we're going to be dealing with a lot of wires, and see, we're actually going to start putting the panels onto the frame of the saucer, which is going to be really cool. But then you're going to have to really do a lot of finagling with the wires. So that's going to be interesting. And then more panels. I'm glad we're finally going to start putting panels on. That's going to look pretty cool. Looks like we're actually going to start working on the neck for a little bit there. More paneling there. And yeah, it looks like some more neck sections. So that's pretty cool. Lots of windows again. Oh man. And I'm interested to see how this is going to work. I've seen people having issues with gaps forming, or a gap between the back neck piece and this part. So I'll be interested to see if I have that issue. Some seem like they're worse than others. And then of course we have the other behind the scenes stuff, or where they talk about the different episodes. I always loved this prop. I think that was cool, that weird weapon probe type of thing. I remember when that went up for auction. And yeah, very cool. So that was a sad episode when Tasha died. I think they used Metamucil to make that slimy tar stuff. Just pretty cool. All right, so let's get started on building this rest of the set. Stage 19 consists of all these parts that we see here. It comes with quite a bit in this stage. So this is a metal frame for the top part of the cobra head of the neck. We got three or four strands of lights right there. A panel, which this one's plastic, but it does have the nice paint job. Once again, I absolutely love that. A reflector piece here, some clear black windows and some clear windows. And then, of course, the usual array of screws, which is always good. And then, what else? We got some, I think these windows are bigger. They're going to go into the bigger slots on that panel. We have two sprues of the escape pods, and I already got the stickers put on here, the Mike Lane Mod stickers, which make those look a lot better. And then there's some stickers here, which I think we're going to use for a couple of different things. And then this is also a phaser strip. We're actually going to be putting one of the phaser banks on. So that's very cool. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is we are going to be taking 8 of these escape pods and putting them in the piece here. So once again, it's good to have these little sprue cutters to cut these off, and then that way we can get these started. So I need to have 8 of these. So let me get all those taken off and we'll get them inserted. All right, so those are now in place. And now next is windows. So we're going to need 22 of the clear windows and 22 of the black ones. So let me get these snipped off and put into this panel. All right, there we go. Man, that is a lot of windows. There is 44 windows in this piece. That was pretty tedious. All right, so now the next step is we're going to take one of these stickers and we are going to put it right across these top 4 windows right here. And I'm not really sure why. I'm guessing this is going to act as some kind of a spacer because these stick up, the lifeboats stick up just a little bit higher, and maybe that's why. But I'm going to have to trim this because, as you can see, it's a little longer than what I need. So let me get that sticker on and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so there we go. That tape is in place now. All right, so next we got to put 5 of these longer black windows and 5 of the clear longer windows in the remaining slots right there. So let me get those put on. All right, so there it is. All the windows are in place. Man, that's a lot of windows. Okay, on to the next step. All right, so the next step is we take one of these light strands here, got the plug in here, and then we take these and we put 90-degree angles on these. So like we've done before, we just bend it. So we'll do it this way. And let me see, I think the other one's got to go the other direction. Let's see if this one goes this way. See if I can stay in focus here. That one goes that way, and this one goes this way. Okay. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take the reflector piece, and that is going to go on here, thankfully, and that will help hold on this panel. So it looks like it's going to go like that. All right, so let me get ready for the next step. Okay, so let's see, I actually had this piece upside down. It's supposed to go this way. So now this has got to fit on here. Let me see, I got to line up the screw holes here like this. Oh, there we go. All right, and then let me make sure everything stays in place. Make sure no windows are messed up, no lifeboats are messed up. Okay, good, good. All right. Yeah, these windows are tricky. All right, so the next step now is we take these lights, and we grab these things. So now they're going to go right here in the center, so that 90-degree angle, so the yellow and the white one goes right in here. Hopefully I can do this without dropping anything. Got to slide that in there like that. And then this one goes in this way. Okay, nice. All right, and then we're going to put 2 BP screws right here and here. So let me get those put on. All right, so there is that. All right, so then we take 2 more of the strands of lights here, and then we bend the bulbs in a 90-degree angle, just as we did before on both strands here. And then the bulbs that are at the end of the yellow and white wires like this, these are going to go into these side sections right here. See that little part right there? So we got to tuck this in side there. See if I can get that in there. Oops, I'm on the wrong side here. Okay, that kind of clicks in, which is nice. And then let's grab this other light. And this one goes on this side. See if I can get it in there. It's really hard to do this while I'm trying to keep it on camera here. All right, well, let me tuck this in. And then we're going to put, I think, 2 more BM screws. No, 4 more. 4 more BP screws. There, there, and there, and there. All right, so let me get all that done. All right, there we go. So yeah, that's all done now. Very finicky, fiddly stuff going on here. Just want to check one more time to make sure all the windows are in place. Nothing is sticking out or in halfway between. All right, very good. All right, on to the next step. All right, so this is exciting. We're bringing back the big, huge framework for the saucer now, and so we're going to actually be putting on our very first frame. So that piece that we were just working on, this part here, is actually going to be attached to the front. So the first thing we got to do now is we got to lace these wires that are on this side. We got to put these through this section right in here, right through there. All right, and then the wires on this side, at least the plug-in part of it, is going to go through this right here. Okay, and that looks like the red and black LED stays out. And on this side, the red and black LED, let's see, is still sticking out over here, okay? All right, so then let me flip this over and I'll show you what's next. All right, so this is where things start to get all crazy. So we got the wires through here. Now they specify that these yellow and black ones go right in this little section right in here. And then the LED that we haven't used yet from that strand goes through this way underneath right here. These are going to be, let's see, I have to line this up a little bit. So actually this panel is going to hang off of the frame quite a ways there. And then, let's see, this red one here, this red, sorry about that, it's red and black. It's going to go through this way. Sorry, this is really hard to film while I'm trying to do all this. And then they want you to put this yellow and white one in that little slot here. So probably to help keep it out of the way. All right, let me see. So now I got to line all these up. Boy, I'll tell you, these wires are something else. Can't imagine once we get all the other panels going. Oh man. Sorry, I keep getting my hand in the way. So, all right. So let me. I think the next thing is we got to put some. What kind of screws are we using? Looks like we're going to put 2 DP screws in here, and we're going to attach it down to there. So let me try to get all that in there. All right. So I got to say, I'm not really a fan of the way they have you put this on. These wires here are kind of crimped underneath there. Here, let me see if I can zoom in on it. See how they're kind of smushed in there? What they should have had you do is have the red and black wires here. You should have actually put these bulbs in after you have this put on. And then have the red and black wires come out on this side, because they're all kind of coming out over here, and I don't like the way they have you do it, but that's the way they have it. And also, I don't like how they tell you to bend these ones here to a 90-degree angle, and then they end up not really being at a 90-degree angle, because you can see how it has to go kind of, off to the side a little bit to fit in there. It's just kind of a weird way they did that. All right, well, anyway, hopefully everything works. And now the remaining LEDs, these ones that are on the dangling off these red ones here, the red and black wires, there's one on each side. These are going to go into these little slots here and here. So I got to put them in there, and then let me get that put in. Okay, so there we go. Everything is where it's supposed to be. I'm not really a fan of the way those corner wires are kind of smooshed in there too. I don't know. It seems like they could have done that a little bit better, but oh well, we'll go with what they got. All right, so now we're going to take one of these stickers, and we're actually going to use that to bundle these wires up. So let me get that all done, and then at least we can kind of neaten that up a bit. And there we go. All right, on to the next step. Okay, so now we are going to be using this piece. This piece we built back in stage 4, I think. So we're actually going to start using pieces that we built earlier. So now we're going to actually take these 2 screws out and separate those, which is weird, but yeah, we're going to actually disassemble something we put together. So let me get that done. All right, so we look back now at the top of the saucer section, and this is the part we put on earlier. So now we're going to take this part that got separated, and we're actually going to lace these wires through this hole right here. Okay, so let me get these in here. Let me see, I want to go this way. And yeah, there we go. Bring this through. Then this panel gets closer over here. Now these wires are going to go through. Actually, we have to detach this. So take that off. Now this wire here, that's part of that right here. So that stays off. This goes underneath here. All right, just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Man, I tell you. Okay, so here's this. And let's see, I'm not sure what we're going to do with this LED just yet. All right, so now we are going to flip this over because I think we're going to attach this piece. All right, so the instructions need to be a little bit better. So I got to say, so here, now it shows that both of these wires here go through this thing, but that doesn't make any sense because in the next drawing it shows this one going through here. So do I have to pull this LED out and lace it through here? Because when you put this on, this isn't going to fit very good. Let me see. Guessing this goes, because this hole here has got to go right here. So yeah, I mean we're scrunching everything up over here. All right, so let me see if I can pull this LED out and lace it through. Gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. Well, let me figure this out. Oh my goodness, this panel was a nightmare. I've spent an hour working on this because of the instructions being so screwy. I cannot believe what a mess that was. Okay, so let me show you what the instructions show. All right, so looking at the instructions right here, it shows that the wires right here, all four of these go in that little hole right there, all right? Because it shows the wire going over this and into that hole. But in the next step, all of a sudden they're showing you that these wires from the lower LEDs, the ones that are down here lower, now all of a sudden they're going through this little hole. And the only way you can do that is you have to take these screws out and loosen that LED and then put the LED through that loop and keeping the other LED through there. Well, in the process, so I had to do that. So I had to take this part, the backing off to pull that LED. Well, of course, that was one of the ones that I Gorilla Glued. Of course, well, so note to self, no more Gorilla Gluing the LEDs. So in the process of trying to take that off, it broke the LED. So that LED now no longer lights up. But thank goodness, the vast majority of windows over here are black, and I tried the lights, and you can't even tell. So I'm not even sure why they bothered to put a light in here to begin with, since it doesn't make much of a difference. So thankfully I lucked out there, but yeah, these instructions need to be way more clear. I mean, I can understand how it gets confusing with these wires, but don't tell us to do one thing over here, and in the very next step, all of a sudden it's a totally different thing, and you have to disassemble this to make that fit in there. I mean, what a mess. Yeah, I spent an hour on this mess. Okay, so looking at this now, so originally this blue and red wire right here was coming out over here, and you can see that the LED is way over here. So now this wire has got to cross clear over where you screw it in together to the other panel and the frame on there, and it won't screw in because it's like a big old gap in there, and you're crimping the wire. So yeah, so you do have to move this LED through there. So they should have just had you wait to put this LED in until you're at this stage where you're putting this on. So that was a huge mess. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense. So yeah, gosh, that was a mess. All right, so now looking at the top now. So see, this panel would not have been flush with the other one had you put it together the way they originally showed. So, and see how these are mostly black? That's the area that the LED would have affected. So thankfully, most of them are black here, and this one still lights up, probably from residual lighting coming from the other LEDs. And then plus there's going to be another one up here. So yeah, lucked out on that. But man, what a mess. Okay, so the next step now is we are going to be using this panel. So this is another panel that we built from stage 4, and we're going to loosen these screws enough to take this LED out. So let me do that. All right, so now looking back at the underside of the saucer, so I took those screws out and I pulled this LED. So now this wire, tell you what, the wires like to get stuck on everything. All right, so now we're going to take this and we're going to put this through this first hole here on the right, like that, and then let me get the LED that's loose as well. Okay, and then trying to hold on to this so the windows don't fall out. All right, so now we're going to move this under here. Doesn't get stuck on everything. Okay, and then at least they got it right on this one. Now this LED is going to go through here, and then we're going to reattach it to the LED thing right here, which is what they should have done with that other panel. And then we're going to replace the screws that we took off of here. So let me get all that set up. Okay, so everything is back together now. So now we are going to fasten this part on, and we're going to connect right here and right here, this panel, and we're going to use some DP screws for that. So let me get that put on. Okay, so that one is now in place, and you know, I don't know. This was going together so good until we got to this part. You know, look how they scrunched the wires together from the previous part. They both happen to go right in the same spot. You know, they could have made that just a little lower to help alleviate, squeezing that in there, because that was kind of hard to get that in there. But, I just don't like scrunching the wires up like that. But I guess we'll just keep on going. All right, so the next section we're going to be working on, this is the part that we took off earlier. And so we're now going to use that. This is that metal piece. So the escape pods were already in there, and now we're going to put some windows in there. I think there's 3 clear windows. These are left over from earlier, and 3 black ones. So let me get those placed in there. Okay, so we got the windows in. So now the next step here is that this panel is going to go right inside here. It's a little tricky to get this in here. All right, so now these panels are going to hold in the windows and the escape pods, and we have to line up these screw holes right here. And then while we're doing that, this LED that we took off earlier, that's got to go back in here. And then we have that leftover strand of lights that we haven't used yet, and the yellow and white wire LED is going to go into this spot here. And then we're going to have to fasten all that down with some BM screws. So let me try to get that on. Okay, so that is now all in place. So it took about 10 screws, 6 of these bigger ones that we see, right along here. And then we got these ones with the washers on them. And then you got to make sure you put these wires underneath this strut piece. It fits right in there. There's a little gap in there. So there we go. All right, so now we're going to bundle these wires together to neaten them up. Okay, there we go. So that does help make that look a little less of a mess. And now it tells you to test a couple of the lights. All right, so they have you test those 2 windows there, and those work. It's quite a bit of light that comes through even just from that one LED. All right, very cool. All right, so you are going to be flipping this back and forth, top to bottom, over and over. You're going to be flipping this around all the time, so just keep that in mind. All right, so the next step is this. This is the phaser array, or the phaser bank. Very nice looking piece. And that's going to go right in here. And that fits very nice. And 3 DP screws on the back hold that in. All right, so that is now in place. And I got to say, this part had a lot of screws in it, that section right there. So that screw there, there, and there is what held in the phaser bank right there. All right, so we're on to the next step. All right, so now we are looking at the big skeleton for the neck part, and then this is the other kind of infrastructure that goes on there, and this is metal as well. So this is going to go right on here, like that. There's all these little holes that match up on here, and there's going to be 10 BM screws that hold that in place, so let me get that fastened on. There we go, so now that is on. This middle one here was kind of hard to put in because the metal didn't quite reach, so I had to really push on it to get it in there. So all right, so that completes stage 19, thank goodness, because that was a rough one. Okay, so we are mercifully moving on to stage 20 now. So in this stage we have a nice another panel piece here, more of the nice paint job going on. Let's see, we have black windows, we have clear windows. They give you 2 of the lifeboats or escape pods, which are already off the sprue. 2 more strands of lights right here that we can see. And a new battery pack. We have another battery pack. All right, so let's get started. First things first, we're just going to go ahead and start putting windows and the escape pods in this piece. So let me get those in and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so now all the windows are in place. So the next step now is we are going to take this reflector piece, and this has got to fit on here. You got to be so careful with these windows. So now this is going to go on here, so we match up the screw holes like this. All right, just like that, and then just kind of hold it tight enough that we can make sure that everything is in place. I don't want any windows screwed up or out of place or whatever. Just double check everything. All right, very good. So now we are going to take these lights. This is one of the strands of lights, and we're going to take the yellow and the white LED wire, put this in here, like so. Make sure it's in there right. Then we put this one down below, the red and the black wire goes in here. All right, and then one BP screw right here to hold those in place. There we are. That is all done. And now we take the other strand of lights and we take the red and black wired LED, and that goes in this slot right here. And then we're going to take 2 more BP screws to secure that in. All right, so now it's time to test the lights. And as we can see, I've already got it plugged into the battery pack here. So we flip this over and there we go. So those are all lit. Yes, looks really, really good. I do love the lighting on this. Very, very awesome. All right, glad to see that's working. All right, so now it's time to bring back the big frame here. So we are going to be putting this panel that we just did onto the front section right here. So first we got to lace the wires on the right side here underneath this. Have it go this way. Okay. Including this LED, which is probably going to go up here somewhere. I'm guessing, I don't know. Okay. Get all this through here. And then the ones on this side, these go through this little loop right here in the frame. See if I can get that in there. Okay, and try not to get it mixed up with all these other wires. There we go. Pull this through. All right. Okay, so now let me flip this over so we can try to secure all this in place. All right, so that was another pain in the rear. So once again, the instructions tell you to bring the wires through like I did, but then you later find out that these red and black ones, now you need to lace it through this little loop right here, because if you try to do it the way it initially says, you're going to try to squish the wiring under here. So it's almost better that you don't even put the LEDs in until you get the panel put on, or at least, place it where it needs to go before you screw it in place. And then make sure you know where all the LEDs go, because otherwise you're just going to end up taking things apart and changing everything all over again. So anyway, I finally managed to get this on here, and here, let me flip this over. I couldn't get this to fit nice and smooth. This side kept sticking up, and I could not for the life, oh, I'm sorry, this side here. I couldn't figure for the life of me how or why that was sticking up like it was, and it turns out that the other LED during all of that mess, I think the one that's going in right here, slipped out, and that's why it wasn't going on. So yeah, anyway, finally got that on. Whew. All right, so next we're going to be working on this part now. This is a part we built back in, I don't even know what stage. Starting to lose track now. This is that metal piece that had these kinds of reflector bits. So now that's going to go up here. This is going to go in this panel up here. And then we're going to have to lace these wires through. And before I even do, I want to make sure they are where they're supposed to go in the back. Okay, so on the back here, we have this mess. And we got to make sure that these wires, this red and black one goes under this. And then this one sticks out like that. And same thing on this side. You have to kind of bend these in a 90-degree angle. And then this one needs to be scoot over more. So it goes, they have to align up on the edge. All right, and then let's see, what kind of screws are we using on these? I think they're BM screws. All right, so let me get that all put together. All right, so that panel's in place now. Just be sure that when you put it on, before you actually start screwing it on there, that little flap that's on this side is down underneath there, because I didn't do that. All right, on to the next step. Okay, so we're now moving on to stage 21. So on here we can see we got another one of these transporter thingy-majiggers. And some more screws, more of the lifeboats or escape pods. I already put the Mike Lane mod stickers on those. Another strand of lights, more windows, another really cool phaser bank piece here. And also a metal, this is a metal one, another metal plate right here with the awesome paint. And the battery box lid. Let's see, what else do we got over here? I guess that's it. We are going to be using the battery box that we got from stage 20. And then we're going to be using the main frame here too. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to take this new battery box here. And we are going to put it on right on these 2 screws right here. Let me see, where are they? Right here. So it's going to be 2 BM screws that's going to hold that on. All right, so that is in place now. And so just like the first time we had the battery box, we take the little bolt right here, and that goes in right here. Let's see if I can get it in there. Okay, and then the little cover goes on here, just like before, and it looks like the little opening right there goes on the front, just like that. All right, so I think two BP screws, I think is what holds that on. So let me get that put on. Okay, so that is now done. So we'll set this to the side for a moment while we work on this. So we're back to this metal panel here. So we're going to be putting on this phaser bank right on here, and then 3 CP screws hold that in. All right, so there we go. That is now in place. All right, so the next step is we're going to use one of these transporter enhancers, transporter emitters, whatever they are. So you take this sticker part off, and let's see, which way are we going? I think we're going, let's see, this way. Okay, so let me get this put on now. Okay. Boy, that fits in so good. That was how the other one went on too, and it just fits perfect in there. All right, we'll press this on. Okay, very nice. All right, so next we are going to be putting on the lifeboats on here. So since I'm using the Mike Lane Mod stickers, I need to make sure I put these on right. So the numbers have to go towards the bottom. So there's just 5 of them on this one. Let me see here. There's that. This. These go in pretty nice and easy, thank goodness. Yeah, let's see, this one here, yes. All right, and then there's going to be, there's just a few windows here, 3 black and 2 clear windows in that. Okay, so now those are all in place. For some reason, it's easier to put the dark windows in, maybe just because they're easier to see, I don't know. All right, that's good. All right, so now we are back to the saucer. So now we take that metal panel that we just got done doing, and then this is going to go under here. And it's going to go right over here. Just align those screw holes like this. Now, by the way, before you put that on, make sure this LED that was hanging out over here goes under this part, because that's the way it shows. They didn't mention that earlier. It just shows up again in the instructions. So just a heads up about that. All right, so now we're going to put 1 single BP screw just to hold that on to keep the windows and the escape pods in place. All right, so when you put this screw in, don't put it all the way. You got to leave yourself a little bit of leeway because you're going to have to squeeze. Oh, by the way, I did catch that window that came off of that panel. If you notice that in that last segment, I did catch that, so the window's back in there. All right, so yeah, you want to leave this a little loose so that you can fit this LED that was hanging here earlier. And it's got to fit in this slot that's back here. All right, and then you take the light strand that you had left over. All right, and then you're going to have to slide these underneath this bar. Let me see, I may have to lift this up to do this. Okay, so that goes in here. The yellow one. There we go. All right, so now I think this red one's going to go this way, at least according to... You have to look ahead in the instructions because they definitely don't tell you certain things if they need to. This is from an earlier set of lights. All right, and then this yellow and black one, this has got to go in here. So let me make sure I got it in the pocket. Okay, just like that. All right, now I think we can tighten that down a little bit better. Okay, so actually you're going to use 5 BM screws to fasten all of this on. So not only do you tighten that one, you put 5 more on. Very good. Okay, so now this previous set of lights here, we still have this one left over. So we are going to tuck that under here because we're going to be using that in the future here. So we tuck that under just like we did the other one. Okay, we have to split these a little bit just to give me a little more room here. All right, and now we're going to use some EM screws that are going to go here, 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 and here to make sure that everything's secure. All right, so it turns out my phone can only handle 60 segments of a video for me to edit it into one video. So now I'm going to have to break this up into two parts. So this video will be titled part 6.1, and then I'll do another one called 6.2. So as soon as I upload this video and you're done watching it, look for 6.2 and you'll see it, because I can't upload all of these segments into one video. I didn't know my phone had that limit. Sorry about that. What a mess. This whole thing has been a mess. All right, so as soon as I get done with this one, look out for 6.2, and that way you can see the whole segment of stages 19, 20, 21, and 22. All right, so I apologize for that. So thank you for hanging in there, and so watch for the next video right after this.